Hi, and welcome to PIM Experience, a podcast for product marketers, manufacturers, and merchants that want to listen to analytics, top brands, agencies, and consultants, and unpack strategies and trends around customer experience, catalog management, digital commerce, and everything in between.
Hello, everybody. My name is Andre Pons, and thank you for joining us on this PIM Experience Podcast. I'll be your host for today's show. Last show, you were with Crush Johnson. And today's topic is very important to us from a PIM perspective and very important to our clients as well, and anybody that's looking to implement a PIM. And that's how to avoid PIM implementations going bad. You remember in our first episode, we talked about what digital strategy companies should adopt and how a PIM helps to support them. Today, we're going to go just that bit further. So here at Sales Layer, we're very aware of the importance of a successful PIM implementation. And to be able to dive deeper into this matter, we're very, very excited and delighted to be joined by Karsten Krohn, who is the Sales and Marketing Director at Citation. Hello, Karsten. Welcome.
Hey.
Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, good afternoon, good morning. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you. For those that don't know Citation, you should. Citation is how do I describe it? So Citation is probably the end all be all when it comes to PIM. So Citation would be your go-to if you're looking at implementing a PIM. If you're thinking about it, they'll help you from the selection process. When it comes, they'll dig deeper into what it is that you actually require. All the way through to data services, from getting the taxonomy right to then the actual implementation of the PIM. So definitely do check them out. So anyway, Karsten, again, thanks for joining us today. I guess when best way to start off is you guys do selection processes all the time, and there's obviously two different types of PIM, one being open source and one being Saas. What are some of the advantages and let's say and potential things to look out for when you're looking at one versus the other?
Right. Yeah. Thanks for the intro first. And when it comes to selecting a PIM, there is so much variety out there to find the right tool that fits your needs. When it comes to open source versus Saas, I think I'm going to go over the three primary things. And one for that would be maintenance and support. So when you're licensing a SaaS solution, you're ultimately licensing all of the background services that come with hosting, maintenance. You're not required to update code or host on your server or take care of any of that stuff. So part of the licensing fees goes to ongoing support that now would be a part on your IT team for open source. Mm-hmm. And same thing, I think a very critical piece is security, PCI compliance. As you have, in a SaaS solution, you have security built in. It's hosted on a server in the cloud somewhere that has already rigorous security measures in place. On-prem or on an open source solution that is part of your responsibility. And it may or may not be a big factor in PIM, but it's definitely something to consider. And then the other part is obviously the customization. And typically all platforms, either SaaS or on-prem or open source, give you a very good, out-of-the-box functionality where you can work with a lot. However, on a SaaS solution, you will not get access to the source code. You will not be able to make adjustments to any of things that might be important for you. And on an open source, as the name already implies, you have a lot more ability to customize and change.
From I guess from what I gather from that, let's say it's more a case could be a case of different jockeys for different horses.
Yeah,
right things, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And budget is a question too, So there's a cost associated with all the benefits you're getting from SaaS, the flexibility, the less of maintenance. But there's a cost for that. There's a cost for internal IT staffing, for maintenance. It's a give and take, and you got to weigh for that. And sometimes, you don't need a heavy solution. You want something more lightweight. So going through just like a question, and ideally, I could recommend just chat with your implementation partner. They'll guide you and advise you on what platform fits best, and then implement it according to your needs.
Got it. Okay, so let's say I made up my mind now. I'm ready to implement. And let's say I've decided to go open source, right? It's okay. I really need something modular. I'm a large enterprise. I have a few particularities that I just need, but and I've seen this happen quite a bit. I've seen a lot of PIM projects fail, right? I've seen a lot of PIM implementations fail. You start out, let's say, with a 6 to 12 month timeline. All of a sudden, it's month 19 or 20, and we're still not getting. Why is that?
Yeah. So you're touching base on very critical pieces. So first of all, it is super critical in the beginning to define your business goals and what do you consider success? How can PIM help you drive success? There's the saying between you can deliver strategically against your objectives, or you can boil the ocean. And that's when PIM projects go overboard, because you're trying to cram too much into one system. The other thing is that we are trying to use PIM for something that's not intended to be. We're trying to push hot data through PIM, things like pricing, merchandising, promotional things like this. Trying to find a home or put data into PIM that it's not intended to do. And the other thing is we want to look at, integration. So PIM is not a standalone tool in a large enterprise. It's very likely part of a larger tech stack where different types of systems feed and pull from PIM. So really understanding what data flows from what system through PIM, who owns the data. So it's a process question. Who owns and manages data within PIM? And then what do we do with that data? Where do we send it to? What do we use it for? Is it an e-commerce platform? Is it marketplaces? Is it, sales or customer service support? And so that's why, often, customers hate when we say, we should do a discovery, but it's vitally important to ensure success. If you skip out on the discovery and understanding the business requirements and the overall goals and success measures, you will have a very hard time implementing the software in time, on budget, and drive success.
I got it. What I've also seen sometimes is, there's a few different departments that have to be involved when it comes to decision time to a PIM, and you might give a marketing team a blank canvas and say, what's your ideal solution, and product teams, right, and product design teams, all the way even over to IT teams, and sometimes finance, have to be involved. I guess how do you? It's a dangerous thing to give somebody a black canvas, because you start off with needing one thing, but all of a sudden you have the brush in your hand, and now all of a sudden you want a system that spits fires and juggles at the same time. How would you suggest, let's say, holding those conversations internally with stakeholders to be a bit more clear and concise?
Yeah. So first and foremost, PIM is, PIM is a business tool. We are driving business value, either it's focused on operational efficiencies, if it's guided for time to market, if it's supporting sales channels, supporting your, D2C side. There's a business reason of why we engage with PIM implementations. Primarily, it is to scale e-commerce efforts and create these operational efficiencies. In that process, like you said, there's a lot of teams involved in it. IT, especially if you go open source, IT will be heavily involved. But regardless, IT needs to be involved in terms of what technology or what technology solutions are being implemented. The business is the ones who are leading it, who are ultimately driving the tool. But then there's also teams that cross-functionally collaborate within the tool, like the design teams. The people supply different sources of data. And it's very important that prior to a kickoff, these roles and responsibility are somewhat clear. That the company itself knows, what is each team, like what is my responsibility in standing this up? Same thing, talk to your implementation consultant or your provider, such as Citation, help you through this process, help you define roles and responsibilities, and then be clear on the process and who owns what piece, and then it'll go very smoothly.
Got it. Okay, nice. Very good. Very, very good insight. When you, I think sometimes it's like I said, people do forget or tend to forget what the actual core necessity is, right? And having said that, is then there not a case sometimes where somebody just needs to say, okay, stop it. Let's, a SaaS solution can perfectly offer this. It's not exactly perfect. It's not exactly a 100% fit for my particular use case, but can people get on just fine with that or not?
Yeah. And that is, I think, another theme that we see is the overly customization versus using something that is, hits on all my primary use cases. So again, customization versus out of the box. And a lot of difficulties in 3, 4, 5 years as you're trying to integrate with other systems, as you're trying to use PIM for other processes and services, you are going to run into issues if you start to overly customize your PIM solution. So our goal is always to leverage as much out-of-the-box functionality, keep it as simple as possible, and drive the majority or the primary use cases for your organization. That will keep it lightweight, that will not change anything in terms of integration, that will keep future integrations also standard and lightweight, and will just overall make for a more successful rollout and use over time. So from that perspective, I would always, unless there's an extremely use case or high need for customization, I would try to leverage out of the box functionality as much as I can, and then ultimately make your buying decision on what tool to pick based on your key priorities.
Got it. Okay, and having said that, when we do then look at companies that do decide to implement a SaaS solution, it should be simple, right? It should be straightforward.
Right.
But we do find that sometimes it's not as well, right? There can be some challenges to that. What are some of the most common challenges when doing a SaaS solution then?
Yeah, and quite upfront, a PIM in the grand scheme of other systems is a lightweight tool to implement. There's obviously timelines and things of that nature, but the biggest hurdle is the quality of the product data, not spending enough time understanding product data, understanding how we leverage product data. So think about inheritance of product data, think about the data model in general. Those are like the nerdy terms that we go through that, sometimes the business users are not familiar with. But ultimately, in an e-commerce environment, your product data is your product. So you cannot touch, feel, or smell the product that's on the shelf in a store. So we have to create a data foundation that can supply or meet the requirements of your trading partners, your D2C website. There's so many things that go down into product data, and our goal is to set up a flexible yet scalable data model, have all the attributes in place, define the attributes the right way so data stays clean over time. And that sounds really boring, really nerdy, but it's fundamentally important to success, to drive success long term.
You're one step ahead of me, because I was just about to ask you about data. It all does start with data, right? Yep. And how it is, because we see sometimes somebody that's really eager to implement a PIM, but there's a lot of back work to do there, and a lot of legwork, especially getting the data right and the taxonomy as well, and families. But then there's also the actual migration of it, right? There's can you talk to us about migration and a lot of the things that we need to consider when actually doing the migration of data?
Yeah, sure. So, PIM's primary purpose is to centralize product content into a single repository, both digital assets and product data, so that we can feed any system from here downstream. To get there, and very likely at this current stage, product data is managed in a variety of places. So you very likely have some sort of enterprise system like an ERP, where you have your basic core information. Often we see that marketers on their local machines have spreadsheets where they manage information. We have e-commerce account managers that upload content to Amazon and all the other sales channels. And then you have all these different sources of truth in these different systems, because each person slightly changes something as they upload. And so that first process of content aggregation, getting it out of all these systems that you identify where is product data being managed, then normalizing that content, you will have very likely multiple values for the same attribute. Understanding of what is the finite value. Think about colors. Think about blue versus midnight or sky blue or things of that nature. We don't want to create duplicates for ultimately the same attribute. This seems a little complex and hard, but generally speaking, we want to find what is your current source, what's your current truth, and then uploading that into a system. And for that, there's some legwork required. Again, your implementation partner can help with that. Definitely important that we get that version correct. And then ongoing, we want to connect to the systems that are responsible for data. So ERP for source data, PIM for marketing data. If you have other information like graphics teams for images, we want to connect with those systems to keep that data clean after we've done all the heavy lifting to clean it up in the first place.
Got it. Understood. Thanks. Another thing that I've come across is expertise, right, in the field, and this can go both for open source and a SaaS solution, because even with the SaaS solution, you do need to integrate, right? You need to be able to connect to various different output channels, especially if you're selling on different marketplaces, and then pulling data in. So what do you have to tell us about actually finding that expertise and what somebody should look for in that?
Yeah, and so this is driven by current challenges and shortcomings. As you mentioned in the intro, we pride ourselves that we can participate in the journey from the start to the end. So we can help with the data foundation, we can help with the scoping out of requirements and understanding, or even one step further, we can help find the right tool for your business use case. But then we can help with the data side, data modeling. We can help provide workshops to get you to a data foundation that we can then implement in PIM. That is definitely a very critical piece. Platform expertise obviously matters in terms of leveraging functionality within the platform. So think about someone that has experience with the platform you're choosing. At the same time, we have a broad platform, multiple systems out there, so it can help navigate that space. And then when it comes to integration to other systems, no one knows every single system there is in the universe, but we need to know how we can get from place one or A to B, and who do we need to pull in to help us on the B side. That could be your internal IT team, that could be another agency on a website side, things of that nature. But it's kind of understand that no one knows everything. And if someone claims to know the whole journey and the whole environment, that would be a huge red flag. If an implementation partner tells you, hey, we can handle PIM to X, but we need someone to help us with your e-commerce tool or whatever it is, those are the people you want to talk to. Assemble a team that helps you in your e-commerce architecture rather than trying to find one that pretends to do it all.
Got it. Got it. Understood. Well, excellent. That's been extremely helpful for me at least. Even having been working with him for a while. So thank you very much, Carsten,
Absolutely.
for joining us today. It's been amazing talking to you and learning from your experience.
Likewise.
Good. And this is it for this episode. Thank you for listening to our conversation. If you liked the show, don't miss more in-depth conversations with commerce and marketing experts. And please subscribe to PIM Experience on your favorite podcast platform like Spotify, Apple Podcast, or iVox. You can also visit our resources library, linked down below, to get more knowledge about PIM, e-commerce, and digital strategies through guides, case studies, and videos. Enjoy, and we hope to see you in our next episode.
Nice. Thanks for having me.